Porch City Plate Podcast, presented by the Bites Food Tour. Porch City Plate Podcast, serving up the food, history, and people of Mobile, Alabama for people who love Porch City. I'm your host, Chris Andrews. This episode of the Porch City Plate Podcast is sponsored by Jaws Fest. That's the Jazz Art Writers South Festival. It's a series of concerts coming up the next couple of months on the campus at South Alabama. And I'll be sharing some more information about that later, so y'all stick around for that. But I've got a really incredible, awesome episode today that I'm excited about. And, when I talk to people around town, talking about best places to eat, this place always comes up. Mediterranean Sandwich Company. Vlad Moldoveanu has turned a small little sandwich shop in downtown Mobile into an empire here in the Mobile area. And so this is going to be, I think, one of the best stories that we've told on this podcast, and I'm excited to have Vlad sitting across from me. So welcome, Vlad, to the Porch City Plate Podcast.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Yeah, I'm excited. So tell me the story about, maybe your background, and you don't have much of a Mobile Southern accent. So tell me where you're from and your background.
Yeah, so my background, I was born in Romania, and I came here during college. It was called work and travel system, where you get a visa for like 3 months and you get to see America. It was for college kids. So I went in DC. I was working in Falls Church. I worked in this little pizza restaurant where they hired me, and I was the dishwasher. And one day then worked my way up. The guy said, "Hey man, you're pretty good with the dishes. Don't stick your head in the sink down there. You want to learn how to make a pizza?" So I'm like, "Sure." I remember his name was Abdul Jalil. He was from Morocco. So this guy teaches me how to make pizza. I ended up like loving it. It was just like, I was like, wow, this is everything I wanted to do. To cook. I got good with the knives. Anyway, in 3 months I had to go back, and I finished college. But I could never fit in anymore. I was working like 15, 18 hours a day in this pizza place, from like 10 in the morning to like 2 at night. So it really got into me. And I finished college, and I went to Academy of Economic Studies, which was a business school, one of the best. It was the best in Romania. And I was supposed to work for Oracle or one of those KPMG financial institution, make $500 a month or something. And I decided it's not for me, to work my way up. And then when Katrina hit, they put another contract out. They needed workers for here. Actually, Riverview Plaza Hotel had a contract for servers. They couldn't find any servers. So I signed up, and I ended up here. A funny story how I ended up in Mobile. They put a contract out. They put these contracts, they go in Chicago, New York, all the big cities, and then you had Mobile, Alabama. And I got there, as usually how I get everywhere, a little late. So I get there late, and they're like, man, everything's taking, LA, of course. You hear, you want to go to LA or you want to go to Mobile, Alabama. So it's like, we only got Mobile, Alabama. And this guy was like, where is it? He said, it's right on the ocean. Of course, it's Romania. Yeah. It's like January, it's snowing, the road is frozen, and it's like, I said, does it snow? No. He says the fishing is great. It's right on the ocean. I was like, all right, sign me up. So I signed up. I don't even know where Mobile. I go back, I look on the map. I know it's south. It was like, oh yeah, we got here. It was not really right on the ocean. It was a little bit more on the bay. But hey, that definitely didn't snow. And the fishing, it is great. So yeah, end up working for River, work as a server. Again, they're having shorts. They're shorthanded, like everything. Banquets hit, and the chef is like, any one of you can hold a knife, help us with some onions. I'm like, me, So I go there, I help them out in the kitchen, and he says, hey, I'll give you a job. How much you making? I was like, I'm making $2.13. He's like, I pay you $10 an hour. I was like, $10 an hour? Sign me up. Yeah, the poor guy, he was like, he was just scrambling. I remember it's like 5 o'clock in the morning, and the chef is on one of those big skillets, like hotel pans, and he's scrambling eggs. And he's just like pouring down sweat. You could see he's been wore out, for like 3 days. He's been cooking, for this group, thousands of people in the hotel. He just grabbed my hand. He was like, you, come here. I got a job for you. So I started working in the kitchen, and then, it's getting close to the origin stories at Mediterranean. So maybe you have anything else?
That's interesting. I think what was your life like growing up though? I mean, did you ever have an interest in cooking when you were living in Romania?
No, absolutely. It was the life. I mean, I probably went to a restaurant a handful of times in Romania. Everything was home cooked meals, and you need to know how to cook because you buy your own, and everything was also seasonal. So my grandma was an excellent cook. My dad was an excellent cook. He was making, if I said so, I trained your mom well, because my mom, of course, used to do most of the cooking. But everything in my family, I didn't even realize when I came here, I was almost like half trained. It was easy for me to pick up. Well, I didn't have of course, the ways of the American restaurant and the professional way of cooking, but I didn't have the background enough to assimilate everything, the chefs were teaching me,
Right.
So I just picked right on, the way of the, professional kitchen.
So how did you make the jump going from working at the Riverview to starting your own sandwich company?
Yeah, so sadly, my father passed away in 2009, and I had to go back to deal with the estate and the funeral. And when I went back, I went out with some of my friends, and we went out in Bucharest, and then we found ourselves on the corner of the street, similar to what we got here on Dolphin Street, and it's pouring down rain. We're sitting on the corner on a line of people, and they got this joint of shawarma. They call everything is shawarma over there, meat spinning on the stick, and I'm like, man, why are we sitting here in the rain and all this stuff? And my body says, well, it's the only place open on this street, and it's really good. So we got, and that's when it really hit me. You know what? I know a very similar street down in where I live now in Mobile, Alabama, where there's nothing but a bunch of bars and nothing to eat, and I bet those guys would like it. So yeah, when I came back, it was right after Mardi Gras. Run down right across Heroes, I see this brown paper in the window, and I just stopped. And I got the number. I called the landlord, which Miss Diana Allen. She was actually very nice. And I got the place for $900 a month.
Man, that's incredible.
Yeah.
So I think most people, I guess, are familiar with maybe the Mediterranean diet and plant-based diet, fruits, vegetables. But I don't think that's really an accurate description of your restaurant. I mean, but what would be the dishes found maybe from the Mediterranean region?
Yeah, I mean, they do eat a lot of dairy, cheeses, grains. The main thing about the Mediterranean diet is, seasonal and less meats. They'll eat meats like monthly or once a week or something like that. There's not. Here in the U.S., we eat a lot of meat with and red meat and all that with every meal. And we do have the option. I'm not saying we're the healthiest place. We're following all the dietary restrictions set by the Mediterranean diet, but you have the option over there to get something that's not fried or has a less meat content or meatless option, like fresh salads. We cut our lettuce every day and stuff like that. You get an orzo pasta instead of French fries, which, by the way, people thought it was madness to open a place with no fried food. That was another part. I didn't have really no option because I really want to serve French fries. I like French fries, but there was no way. I had no money to put a hood in. So I was like, we got to do something else. So that's why, now we have the homemade soups and the orzo pastas and stuff like that, because I didn't have money to put fire suppression and start getting fries.
So talk about your menu and what really inspired you when you were creating the menu at Mediterranean Sandwich.
Yeah, well, a lot of it inspired my background in cooking. A lot of it was French-inspired cooking. So I went to this program with the chef Nadir that teach me a lot. Took me under his wing, and for like 2 years, me and him worked at Riverview, and he was like really classical trained, and a lot of those things translate into the menu. He had this mentality, like every dish needs to be balanced. There needs to be a balance of sweet and sour, and have a little texture and flavors, and every layer has to be seasoned, and everything needs to be a perfect combination to entertain your taste buds. So that's what we have. Everything we have at Mediterranean Sandwich Company, people know they're good, but they're actually masterfully crafted based on your senses. Because people, only feel so many things: sweet, sour, spicy, and other. It's just a handful of things that you really feel. So that's why when we do everything, we follow those guidelines. And really, people decide. When we do whatever we do, we put it out there. If people come back and say that's the best thing I ever had, it might end up on the menu, or we may never do it again. So pretty much people are in control of what we do at Mediterranean Sandwich Company.
And I'm curious about maybe some of the early days, when you were serving things like pita bread. I mean, just things that maybe 15 years ago were not as popular as back then. Talk about maybe that. And
it was definitely
the early days.
The early days was definitely an uphill battle. We started out good. I didn't realize, now looking back, I realized how hard this really was. Excuse me. It was really hard because Mediterranean food in Mobile, Alabama, it was not very popular. I think there was only one spot they used to do in the food pack. Some of the guys that were coming from there, and they were saying, oh yeah, we love them. We're getting a food package by the university. And besides that, it was just us and maybe Jerusalem Cafe. So it was considered very, very ethnic and honestly weird. People was like, I'm not gonna eat weird stuff, especially lamb. Lamb was not something that people were like entertained by. It was like, no way. And well, downtown Mobile, we always had, and I'm sure you know this, a little bit more adventurous people, foodies, they're not afraid.
Yeah.
And also drunk people, they're not afraid. You get out of the bar, those guys are not afraid of anything. They're like, I don't know what it is. They're like, but it's the best thing I ever had. I was like, I love it. Well, the rude awakening is when in 2011, my buddy Tony Nicholas, he moved and he sold me his old restaurant, Hungry Hours. By the way, it was a great restaurant, and we moved into this little spot in West Mobile. Well, things didn't went too well. I mean, we were like, we're doing pretty bad. Pretty bad. I was thinking, I never thought about closing, but I thought about, this thing is not going to work out. So we had to do something. And then I was looking, what can we do? I know it was good, but people were not eating it. And then I read this article, about McDonald's, what they do when they go to a different market. So McDonald's, they'll have a make baguette in France. If they go in Middle East, they'll do a make falafel. I was like, wow, what are we gonna do here in Mobile, Alabama? So I was like, it's a bunch of rednecks. So I was like, what they like, Connecticut sausage? And, it's not a bunch of rednecks, but what I'm talking about. No disrespect to anybody. It's like, what's the top ingredients? So I was like, you know what? I'll make something. And of course, I made it for myself. And I know somebody saying this is the damn rednecks thing you ever did. You know what I mean? And I put the Connecticut sausage on the gyro meat. And then I was like, let's add a little spice. Everybody loves spicy. So I got that tzatziki and I mixed it with some hot sauce and Cajun seasoning. And I put some smoked Gouda. Tony was on Hungry. I was using a lot of smoked Gouda. And I know he was successful with Tony Burger, so I was like, let me get a little bit of this smokiness in here too. So that's when the Redneck Hero was created. And that was the best hit ever because people, you give them something can relate to, and they feel like, oh, it's got Connecticut sausage, it's got cheese, it's got Cajun tzatziki, whatever that is, just give me one of those.
Yeah.
And that's all it took because, to eat something that sounds familiar. And that single-handedly saved the West Mobile location, the Redneck Hero, and pretty much the whole company.
Man, that's incredible. That's incredible. I love that. Yeah, man, the Redneck Hero. That's certainly one of my favorites, and man, that's a great story. I love that.
One move. Yeah.
I'm really interested. You mentioned how you have to almost kind of be adventurous. Like you said when you first started, which is crazy to me thinking about historically Mobile. If you had dropped off in Mobile 100 years ago, there were Greek-owned restaurants on every single corner, and I think certainly a Mediterranean style of food would have been at most any great restaurant in Mobile. So it's kind of interesting to see how that changed, over the course of maybe say 100 years or so. But do you think too that maybe the food trends have changed more? We're health conscious. More people are more health conscious, and maybe that helps you out a little bit with some of your salads and things like that too.
Oh, definitely. I feel like, people, because we all deal with as Americans, I mean, we have health problems, right? And, it's only a matter of time before your doctor tells you, hey, you got to eat something less than, hamburger and fries, which is nothing wrong with them, but not every day, So, yeah, we deal with it. A lot of women, love our place because, women, they're also a lot more health conscious and they take care of themselves, I would say, a little better than the dudes. So yeah, that helped us a lot. And of course, because it is healthy, and if you ate it, it's makes you feel good after. It's one of we put like panini pizza. We put real food in our food.
Yeah.
I'll take his line, but yeah, we have no the chicken rotis there on the spit and all that. There's no there's no additives. Everything is fresh. We even make our own yogurt at the airport store, and we make that our tzatziki. So everything is fresh, made at least twice a week. So that's, I'd say people taste the difference, and it probably makes them feel better when they eat it, and they will be healthier.
Absolutely. What are some other popular dishes on the menu?
Of course, the classics, the gyro and the chicken gyro, which is the chicken shawarma, and the mixed grill. That's probably our other popular one. We have the salads, hand-cut lettuce. Every day we don't use that bag stuff. That's gas treated. So every morning somebody goes there and cuts the salad, and people like that. They really like a fresh cut, crispy lettuce. Besides that, of course, the orzo pastas. Those were a huge hit.
Love
people
that.
didn't know what it was, and I didn't. I've seen it first. I was working as a server as Macaroni Grill, and I seen that orzo. It was 15 years ago. So I was like, wow, which means barley in Italian. When I set up to do, I had to do some sides, and again, fries was out of the question. So I said, I don't know, I'll make a soup. And then we're gonna need to have some sort of a carb, some mashed potatoes. So I was like, they don't do good, it's too hard. Everybody made mashed potatoes. I was like, what about some pasta? And I tried spaghetti, I tried rotini. All those, they don't hold well. So when you have to hold them in a hot box or on the steam table. And then I remember about the orzo. So I was like, oh yeah, this is. I did some tests, and it was holding really, really well over the course. We make it fresh twice a day, but it holds really well 4 to 6 hours right there after you make it. So we made our tomato basil because everybody likes tomato basil, right? It's kind of like a marinara sauce, but we use fresh basil and good Parmesan and stuff like that, and it worked out.
What's the process of maybe your meats? Like, does somebody come in early and
So the meat, we buy the gyro meat. It's bought from Chicago. We bought it from Greek. It's called Devanco. They're a company we partner with. They give us the broilers. They give us the pita bread, and they give us the gyro meat. So we buy that. That is a product that's bought because I can make it, and we can make it, and probably can make it, but it will be not cost effective. Lamb it's way high than everybody will be ready to pay for a lamb sandwich. So that is a product we buy. But the chicken, that is a fresh, never frozen chicken thigh that we marinate in our own spices and a little bit of olive oil, and that every morning somebody comes and stacks that on a spit and lets it cook over there for like 2 hours before we make our fresh cut. And that's the only two meats we use, and that's when we build our sandwiches, with that and a bunch of fresh veggies and sauces.
Okay. When I reached out to you, you were a little bit hesitant because you didn't want this episode to feel like that. You were the reason. Your story was the reason for all your success. I mean, you kind of credited your staff a little bit, and I feel like that's what you do. So, I want you to talk to me about your staff and your team, and tell me about how they've been instrumental in helping grow your company.
Yeah, I mean, I've been really blessed with great staff over the years. Every now and then, hear people saying, hey, nobody wants to work. That's totally untrue. And while things might have changed a little bit, you have to take care of the people that work with you, and you have to give them credit, and you have to, you'll get what you put in when it comes to those guys. And for me, I mean, I was, like I said, when I look back right now, I do not remember any of the bad times or struggles. I only remember, how great those guys were. I mean, we really had some real good people over there, and we still have them. Some of them, like Scott, the airport has been with us for like 10 years. And work with them, and I enjoyed every minute. Without the good crew and a good staff, you're pretty much nobody. But in order to create a good crew, you also need to take responsibility as a leader, and you need to lead in the right way. I would say in Romania, the fish always goes bad from the head. So I feel like many of the restaurants, not necessarily any business, that blames the staff for failures, it's actually, it's a leader. The failure is always at the top. So with us, I don't want to take any credit with, but I hope I carry myself in, me and my wife, and I work, shoulder to shoulder with those guys, and we've all been in the trenches, and that, created a great bond, and really set us up for success. But without them, I could have not accomplished anything. And even right now, this operation is pretty much kind of autopilot. I'm very little involved in a day-to-day operation. Those guys, they run everything.
Well, so what is your role right now?
I'm more like, I say, founder and president. So I try to steer the ship, in the right direction. And I follow food trends. I follow uniform. I try to make everybody also happy that works with us. There are always issues and stuff. So I'm more of a role of a coach right now. I used to be hands-on and in the trenches with the guys I call, but right now I haven't probably touched the sandwich. Actually, we're up on the ferro, so I had to make sandwiches one lunch, but I do not partake in the day-to-day operation. I just do financial stuff and forecasting, and I try to better the whole, make sure the equipment is in running, or make sure those guys I provide, make sure they have everything they need to do their job. That's pretty much sums up,
Yeah, I think it definitely says, it really shows what kind of leader you are. It really does. And you talk about, you haven't had a hard time with when it comes to staffing, and then, you look at all the successful restaurants. A lot of them don't have a hard time with staffing because of how good their leadership is at the top. So now I love hearing that. What are some of your, that just doesn't come natural to people, right? So leadership almost is kind of it's almost a learned thing. So what are some of your influences there? Like how did you learn to be a good leader?
Yeah, that's a good question. So all the time I invest myself in learning how to be a good leader, and I read a lot, and I also follow some great. Wherever you work, you'll be fortunate to run over bad leaders or good leaders, and you have to learn from both of them. So I run. I'm not going to go into the bad ones. But one of the great leaders that I worked for was Alec Neyman at Neyman's Catering. So I really like how he was treating his people, how he treated me, how he treated everybody in the business, and I was really interested about what made him so successful. And me and him, we had sat down and we talked, and he coached me in some things. And you have to take care of your people. That was number one. Don't worry about training. Don't worry about giving the guy a bunch of lists and all that. None of that is gonna make, if you do not connect with your staff and the people don't feel appreciated, you have nothing. And there are levels of this relationship, where you start at the position level, which is the lowest. Nobody's gonna follow you, and then you have the permission. And there's a guy, I don't remember right now who started this, but yeah, you work your way up. It's all about the relationship you have with your staff. And once you get at the top, it's called the pinnacle, where you actually did something to change people's life. And all of us, nobody's there, but everybody's working towards that thing. And a lot of it is military. I also follow a lot of military leadership, where everything seems to be, fair. And the Mediterranean Sandwich Company always been a promote from within company. I feel that's what also set us up for success. Just like the military, you don't get into the military and you're going to be a general or colonel or somebody right at the top. So we start everybody. We don't hire managers. You start we have a crew member, a shift leader, and a manager and a general manager. So there are only 4 positions, and everybody starts at the bottom. No matter where you start from, we never hire. We always promote from within. Mm-hmm. That was part of our success. So, after a couple of years, people, they know how to do everything. So at that point, they step from crew members to shift leaders, and in a couple more years, they get to own their own restaurant. And that's what's happening now with the franchise. We have guys that work with us for 5+ years. They get to own their own restaurants.
Okay.
So yeah.
Man, that's awesome. I think you've also you're also very innovative. I feel like I think your website, for example, is probably one of the best looking websites for any restaurant that I've seen. That's very rare. So maybe talk about some of the technology and your thoughts there on innovation and things.
Yeah, we definitely embrace technology, and that's part of my job. I'm always looking for, and there's so much out there, and you have to be careful of how many things you pick, but you have to keep up with the times, and they're changing at a faster rate. So I'm all the time, our checklist, they're digital, so everybody pulls from their phone a checklist in the morning and knows what it's supposed to do, checks it, send it. We also keep a track of all those things done. And that's called the Jolt system. But a lot of restaurants like Chick-fil-A are using it. So a lot of these things you have to look like what the big boys are doing. Of course you're not going to be able to do everything, but I wanted to run my ship as a fine-tuned operation, and I wanted to give the people the tools to be successful. And in order to be successful, people need to know what they need to do. They need to have a clear understanding how to give them. You have to give them that. A lot of this, gets lost. You say why they're not doing their job, because they can't. You don't give them enough. Again, personal responsibility. You have to have people right now. They're not going to read anymore of a book. I have written a 280-page manual that's useless now. But I did wrote it. But now I figure out, hey, everybody's got their phone, so embrace the technology. Let's send those guys their list on their phone. Let's let them work with what they're comfortable with and how the times have changed. You can't, you can't turn back the time, and you can't, now it's all about technology. Mm-hmm. So you have to embrace it. As a restaurant, restaurants, they have to embrace it.
So you got 7 locations now.
Yep.
Talk about some of your locations.
Well, we have the downtown, which was the OG, and then we opened the West Mobile. Every 2 years we open one. So we opened in 09, 11, and then 13 we opened Daphne. That was number 3. Then we opened Airport in 2016. And then from Airport, we went to Tuscaloosa. Had a guy working with us, Derek and Christina, and said, hey, they were actually a married couple, said, if you ever want to go to Tuscaloosa, I'll run that restaurant for you. And I'm like, all right, Derek. Yeah, and guess what? After the pandemic, a restaurant, it was Holler and Dash, went out of business over there, and we saw that spot. It was like, you know what? Let's go to Tuscaloosa. And Derek and Christina, they moved their family to Tuscaloosa, and now they're going to buy that restaurant from us this year. So it's going to be the first franchise of Mediterranean Sandwich. It's a great story from somebody that makes used to make like $9 an hour.
Very cool.
Now that thing is it's our strongest restaurant, the one in Tuscaloosa.
Is it really?
Yeah. And then we opened a student center in Tuscaloosa. We partner with the University of Alabama, and we have a small slot over there, small restaurant in the student center. And now we're just a few months ago, last month actually, we opened Daphne, Fairhope, intersection 181 and 104 is our newest restaurant, Mediterranean Sandwich Company, Fairhope. It's in the public shopping center that took forever to open. And then over there we're serving also beer and wine. And so we do in Tuscaloosa. But yeah, it's the first local Mediterranean Sandwich Company that serves beer and wine. And that's going to be a franchise too. I'm selling it to my cousin Andre, who used to run Daphne. He worked with us since 2017, and now he gets to own his own restaurant.
Very cool. I love those stories about, like I said, the guys working their way up to now owning their own franchise. That's really, really cool.
Yeah.
You got any other future plans, or every 3 years? So you got maybe 3 years from now. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean we're moving down south, north. I don't know if we're gonna open any more in Mobile, but we are expanding, and all the time we run. Like I said, we run this system. It's again a little bit non-conventional, because you either run franchise or corporate store, but we run a conversion. So we first opened them. I call it a conversion. We convert corporate stores into franchises, and we do it by partnering with people that work their way through the system with us. This way we feel like we have a proven operator that's going to set himself for success and set our system for success. So that's our plan. Our plan is to invest more in people and expand, and probably going to do this a little bit more aggressively with 1-2 restaurants a year. So don't be surprised if you hear Soon will be another one coming.
All right, man, that sounds good. Man, that's been really cool. I love just this whole episode's been awesome. Just your leadership and just your story and your entrepreneur skills. Man, it's been really, really fun. Before we continue our next two segments of the podcast with Vlad, I wanted to tell you about our sponsor of the episode, Jaws Fest, the Jazz Art Writers South Festival. And joining us for a quick chat is Paula Webb and Willie Denish, the co-directors and co-creators of this exciting event happening at the University of South Alabama. Paula and Willie, welcome to the Port City Plate podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So tell our listeners, Willie, a little bit about Jaws Fest. What can they expect from this event?
So just a little bit of an idea of history. Jaws Fest stands for Jazz Art Writers South, and that is a celebration of local jazz, local artists, our local authors here in our Southern culture. And we were named Jaws Fest by Carmen Brown, who was a longtime jazz DJ here in the city. And we're very, very, very proud to be associated with her history and the history of the Excelsior Band. The Excelsior Band was our inspiration for creating this festival. They lost a very important member back in 2021, and we reached out to be able to begin to recognize their long-going creative and enduring efforts here in the city and their long, deep connection with jazz here in the city of Mobile. They had over 140 years worth of jazz history here in the city, and we wanted to create an opportunity for them to get recognition, participation, and be able to join and make a connection, build a bridge with our young people here in the city. So Paula's great idea was, let's get kids involved, let's get some inspiration going. And we reached out to one of our great local artists, Sonika Edwards-Bush. She had us a connection with the Boys and Girls Clubs of South Alabama. That helped us create our Jaws Youth art exhibits. And that first year we had, I think, 27 pieces from local Boys and Girls Clubs, which of course are Mobile County Public School students. So we have this deep, deep reach into what's been going on in our arts community and with our music community, and we're trying to bring that all together in a fantastic celebration. So we've grown rather moderately. We haven't grown too aggressively. Our first year, I think we had 2 concerts, but this year we're now at 5 concerts, and it's a pretty exciting time. Very, very exciting time.
That's fantastic. So tell me, when and where will Jaws Fest take place?
Okay. Well, thank you for asking the question. Our festival is a little unusual in that it spans over a 2-month period, May and June. We do have a launch concert, a kickoff concert, that is the Excelsior Band. They are going to do 140 Years of Excellence at Laidlaw at the University of South Alabama on April the 4th at 7:30 p.m. Tickets are now on sale for that. In addition, we are also going to have a number of events between May and June located in the Marks Library at the University of South Alabama. We will have the art exhibits there. There are jazz-themed art from local artists. We will have jazzy lunches, which is a free lunch to anybody who wants to come to our library in room 181, and we will have a jazz artist playing music for free, taking donations, mind you. And also, we're trying to get local vendors who want to just give out free samples, because it is a jazzy lunch, and sometimes you forget your lunch. So if there's a vendor out there who says, hey, I would like to come and just be there and give out free samples during the jazzy lunch, please let us know. Then we will also have jazz stories and poetry. Artists, local poetess Nicole Day is going to be over these events where you can actually come and listen to local poets from spoken word and other locations here in the city read poetry. You also have a chance to encounter local writers with their works. There's going to be a children's program, children's writer program here, and there's also going to be one for adults program. So there's a lot going on in just 2 months.
Yeah.
So is it a ticketed event? Do people need to get tickets to the event?
So overall, we have a lot of free events. Many of the events that we have in the Marks Library are free. We offer a lot of free opportunities because, first, our art galleries are all open to the public, and so they are free to attend. And along with that, we created other free events of our Jazzy Lunch and our Jazz Art jazz stories and poetry event. Because we want to encourage people to come and experience the galleries, experience what's happening during that time of the festival. And so that just leaves our concerts as ticketed events. So we have the 4 definite concerts that are ticketed. 3 are in Laidlaw, which is the Excelsior Band, the Gulf Coast Jazz and Blues Orchestra, and Andrew Ayers. Those will all be in Laidlaw. And then our blues concert is going to be performed by Thomas Jackson, and that will be in the Marks Library Auditorium, which only leaves the opening day ceremony, which is a free event on March 16th. And on that day, we'll have a free concert from, May 16th, thank you. I got ahead of myself, didn't I? May 16th, and that will feature the Excelsior Band performing. We'll be giving out some awards to our JAWS youth in celebration of that fantastic art gallery going up, and then there'll be a reception. All of that will be free to the public. So we have a lot to offer for free. In addition, I'd like to be sure to mention that we are a nonprofit organization, a registered 501c3. So that means people can donate directly to us and have the tax benefit of those donations. So any way that people would like to support us, we are very, very appreciative of.
Well, fantastic. This sounds like a really exciting event, and you've definitely got to go to jawsfestival.com, get your tickets there for the ticketed events, and go check it out. Paula and Willie, thank y'all so much for coming on the podcast and sharing about this really awesome event.
Thank you so much.
So our next segment of the podcast is called Meat and Three, and this is where I talk, this is where I just, we've gotten into the meat of the podcast, and so now I've got 3 questions for you, and I want to ask you. So, what would you say? What's your favorite Mediterranean meal? Like, what is the perfect Mediterranean meal in your mind?
It's, the best meals are the ones served with family and friends. So my perfect meal would be like, it's not about, what I would cook, I'm sorry to go there, but, a simple dish, let's say meat and potatoes or roast chicken, smoked chicken, something like that. I love simple stuff done well and share with family. So my favorite meal will be, surrounded by my friends and family, have a glass of wine and cook something.
I love that. That's awesome. I love it. So what are some of your favorite, your wife and, when y'all go out to eat, what are some of your favorite places in Mobile that you like to go?
Oh, Mobile has a great, it has some great restaurants. I like, personally, I like to go, when I work, I go to Heroes. If I ride across Royal Scam, my wife really loves that place, and we go a little bit, I live across the bay, so we love going across the bay. But yeah, the Causeway restaurants, we like oysters. She likes the flame grilled oysters at the Oyster House. She just brought some yesterday with the Parmesan. Yeah, those are my favorites.
Yeah. What about, do you know of any maybe under the radar ethnic restaurants in Mobile that maybe don't get as much love? Do you know of any that you can think of?
I'm trying to think hard about. But yeah, I can't really.
I think, like you mentioned Jerusalem, and I know that's a big one. Jerusalem Cafe is always.
Cafe. Yeah, those guys are great. They've been around. They've been around forever. I know they moved now by university, and they have. I think if I have to, Jerusalem Cafe is probably one of the. I think they've been in Mobile even before us. And they do some things, and Seven Spice. That's one, and I know it gets plenty of love, but it's a little bit tucked in there. And all those guys, they do some real good, because they got the same kind of background with me. They're foreigners, they were born in different countries, so they serve food that they're used to, and I feel like they cook from the heart. So yeah, Jerusalem Cafe, Seven Spice, I think they do it right. It's more like a sit-down restaurant, and they have plates and tabbouleh. They're a lot more. I would say a little bit more ethnic than we are, which is good for them. They need. We need places like that.
Yeah, need some diversity and things. Yeah, and usually they're just usually some of the best restaurants. Like I said, it's always made with love, but made with fresh ingredients, and so it's usually. That's why I was asking if there was any maybe that like I said, those restaurants kind of fly under the radar a little bit sometimes too.
Yeah. And we don't see anybody as competition. We're in competition with ourselves. So I go eat at all the restaurants everywhere. Not as much as I should, but everybody has there's room for everybody in the food industry, and diversity is good. It's one of the things that it's really, really, you want to have a diverse community. You want to be a little adventurous. try something new. You know, there's good things. There's good things out there. Don't be afraid to, step out of your comfort zone.
That's right. The next segment of the podcast is called Chris's Dishes, and this is where I talk about the best dish that I've had lately. And if you've got a dish that you want to, give a shout out to, I'll turn it over to you. But my dish is the crawfish etouffee at the Noble South. I'd had it before, but then watching the episode of Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives that featured the Noble South, I kind of went back and got it again because they really talked it up on that episode. And Guy Fieri did especially. So I went back. Yeah, it's phenomenal. I love that dish at Noble South, and it's a little bit unique. Yes, that's not something. I don't know. When you think about Noble South, you don't think about the crawfish etouffee, as being one of their best dishes. But man, I love it. I love it. So that's my dish for the week. And what about you? Do you have a dish that maybe you've had lately that you enjoyed?
I have to go try it. I didn't had. I went to Southwood Kitchen and I had this pork shank. Man, that was good. Fell off the bone. My buddy. I used to work with the chef Jeremiah from over there, but that pork braised pork shank. I was impressed by that one.
Yeah. Man, I love Southwood Kitchen. Yeah. You can't beat Southwood. Where did y'all work together at?
We used to work together for Alec Neyman at the Neyman's Market, in Midtown. Jeremiah was the chef and I was a cook.
Man, no wonder that place was so good. I loved it when it was right across from Old Dutch when it was there at the corner.
Yeah, it was good. There was tremendous talent in there. He opened, I think the timing was a little off right in the beginning of the recession.
Yep.
He was maybe, tried to do a little too much because, Alec is he's very energetic.
Yep.
He did a great job.
I used to love that place. I was doing air conditioning work back then, and so I was always driving around town, and every time I was in Midtown, that was always one of my go-to places to go.
Excellent. I mean, he had the best hot buffet. He had the southern side, and he had a little bit on the gourmet side, and we used to make everything back there, like in pans and fresh, to put everything out. It was good. I really enjoyed working, and plus the vibe was good. Jeremiah was a good chef. Learned a lot from him, and Alec. It was really enjoyable working for him. So.
Yeah. Well, Vlad, man, I really appreciate you coming on the episode today. It's been a fun one.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me. I had fun.
Absolutely. Thank y'all for listening to the Port City Plate podcast, and definitely go check out Jaws Fest, and that's like I said, the Jazz Arts Writers South Festival concerts coming up, and so excited about that too. But we will catch you on the next episode.